And welcome back, rugby fans, to Rugby411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata. And wow, what an exciting week 14 we had in Major League Rugby. No new playoff spots were clinched or no new teams were eliminated, but it has set up quite an exciting last 3 weeks of the Major League Rugby season. Week 15, which I will do my preview video. It's going to be a little bit more in depth because we're going to go over a lot of different playoff scenarios. A lot could be determined in week number 15, but it was all set up through week 14 where there was a lot of exciting games and a very, very big upset where we do have a new number one, which I'm very excited to unveil. Again, if you've never seen my power ranking videos, it's pretty late in the season. I'm surprised if you haven't. But if you haven't, it's all determined by what happens on the pitch, who you play, where you play them. If you're a lower ranked team losing to an upper ranked team, the upper ranked team doesn't really move very much comparatively. If you're a lower ranked team that upsets an upper ranked team, you're going to skyrocket to the top. It is, like I said, it's a very exciting week of action, so a lot of interesting changes. The one change that unfortunately has not really happened is, unfortunately, our Anthem Rugby Carolina team, sitting at number 11, has yet to find a win. This is probably one of their worst performances to date. A big dominant loss to Old Glory DC, 41-19. I'll go a little bit more into the game when I talk about Old Glory. Anthem, I honestly, unless a team completely decides not to play, I really don't think Anthem is going to win. Again, it's a very interesting development with the coaching position for Anthem. Augustine Cavallari, who was originally an assistant coach, has been promoted to head coach. There's really been no explanation about what that means. And then, I mean, if we want to kind of just read the room, it does seem like this coaching change is because of the fact that Anthem has yet to win a game. But there has been no flat out just that's the reason for it. But yeah, again, I just don't see Anthem winning a game this season, unfortunately. And I had high hopes. I'll be the first one to admit I really thought Anthem would at least win 2 games, maybe 4. But it just seems like this was a team, unfortunately, that as the season progressed, they actually got worse. Comparatively to, I feel, last season, where it felt like the team was kind of going up and just never really reached that winning point. But at least they were coming close. Now it just looks like the team has kind of given up a little bit. And it's just very unfortunate. And again, Anthem is supposed to be a developmental team, developing the future Eagle players of America. We were hoping to see some sort of development, especially after the first year where it really looked like some games that could have easily went the other way. This time it seems more and more that it just really isn't Anthem's year this year. So hopefully we'll see some changes maybe in the off season. Maybe we'll see some development into next season, but Anthem's looking like the team that will be the very first team in Major League Rugby history to start 2 seasons without a win. Not exactly a title that a franchise wants to have. Moving on, another team that unfortunately seems to be kind of not going in the right direction as we head into the playoffs, the San Diego Legion, who unfortunately, it was a really good game, losing to Seattle 25-29. It just, unfortunately, San Diego just came up short in this game. In the game, both teams trading back and forth at the very beginning. I do got to mention that in this game, there were a lot of injuries to both sides. San Diego, so much so that they actually had to start Stephen Crimp, who is an academy player. First time he had to start at the fly half position, which if you don't know about rugby, the fly half and the scrum half are pretty much your quarterbacks of the team. The fly half are kind of responsible for your backs, which includes your wingers, your centers, and your fullback. More of your offensive power of the team, while your scrum half is more involved with your front half or your forwards, your props, your locks, your flankers, your number 8. So you're more of your defensive power the goal of the fly half and the scrum half to kind of work together to get the two halves to work as one. So, but again, your fly halves are in control more of your striking, your offensive power. So they're seen more as the quarterbacks of the team. And to have a guy like Stephen Crimp, no disrespect to him, but to put a youngster in that fly half position to start a game, man, you have to have a lot of confidence in him, or you just really have no other choice. And it feels a little bit of both. Though Stephen Grimm did pretty good in this game. I got to give him a lot of credit to this. Unfortunately, discipline issues in this game. San Diego gets a yellow card at the 30-minute mark, which allowed Rickard Hatting to get his 48th overall MLR career try. He is still second in the league, of course, behind the one and only Dylan the Butcher Fawcett. At the half, Seattle is actually up 15-8. Then in the second half, San Diego's the first one to score. But Seattle strikes back. San Diego responds with a try from Shiloh Klein, who has slowly been having a really great season for San Diego. Most of the second half is played entirely in Seattle's half. Like, when they were putting up the stats close to about the 70-minute mark, it was literally 100% of the territory was in Seattle, which is really, really amazing for San Diego. That allowed San Diego to be up in the game, nearing the 1 minute left in the game at 25-24. San Diego is up. Unfortunately, Seattle is able to score from a scrum into a try, stealing the win and putting San Diego at a loss. So again, a heartbreaker loss to San Diego, who are really struggling in a very crucial Western division, where we'll go into it when I talk about my preview of Week 15. Every game is going to be important in the last 3 weeks, and San Diego is fighting for their life for one of those esteemed playoff spots. Number 9 is the only team that we're going to buy, Nola Gold, who we got to talk a lot about them when we talk about our preview video, because, man, they are another team like San Diego fighting for their life to just try to stay in playoff contention. A lot is going to ride on them with their game coming up in Week 15, but they had a bye this week. And then another really surprising loss, Utah losing to the Houston SaberCats 19-40. It was a very dominant performance by Houston. Utah was a team that at one point was one of the best teams in the league overall. I really thought that they had a good shot of making it to the MLR championship game. Unfortunately, they've been kind of falling flat. They've lost their last 3, including this game to Houston. In the game, Houston pretty much all dominant in the first half, 27-0 at the halftime. Houston does get a red card, but Houston's defense is so good, and their offense was even better, that right at the beginning of the second half, even with a man down, they scored another try. Utah was only able to really capitalize on that red card with a penalty kick. Utah was able to get a penalty try on a collapse maul, but the score was still 37-7 by the last 10 minutes of the game. Houston does take their foot off the gas pedal just a little bit to allow Utah to score 2 tries pretty much in dead time. But it was all Houston in the game. I'll go a little bit more into it on the Houston side when we talk about Houston. They were very, very impressive. Major League Rugby picked them as their team of the week. I would agree, and I'm going to spoil it right now. Houston is the number 2 team in the power rankings, but there is a new number 1 only because I felt one other team had an even better performance just because of the team that they beat. Won't spoil that just now, but Utah slides down a couple spots to number 8 with that loss to Houston. In another game that was very, very close, Chicago dropping a game to RFCLA in Chicago, 26-24. It was a heartbreaker loss to Chicago. In that game, both teams trade tries in the first 15 minutes. Unfortunately, LA getting a yellow card, which allows Chicago to score a try, of course. RFCLA was doing a lot of tackling in this game. They also were missing a lot of tackles. I gotta give Chicago a lot of credit. Their turnovers in the play breakdown, which basically means once a player is tackled and the ball has to be passed back or let go of, that's what we call breakdown. Chicago was all over these Jackals and stealing the ball, or at least isolating the tackled LA player to get the ball back. Chicago was really dominant in that one. The only issue that Chicago had was, unfortunately, their lineout game was not as pristine as it used to be. And give a credit to LA. Chicago, which has one of the dangerous mauls in score, simply because of the man that's behind the maul, usually Dylan the Butcher Fawcett, who has the most tries in Major League Rugby history. LA was able to surprisingly neutralize that, and it basically did not become a factor, which took away, I felt, one of Chicago's biggest weapons in the game. That allowed LA to be very competitive. Unfortunately, at the very end, Chicago was able to get a penalty try because, again, their maul and score was driving, and unfortunately LA had to pull it down illegally, causing a penalty, losing a player. That allowed Houston to be up at literally the 1 minute mark, 24 to 23. I'm sorry, 24 to 21 with 1 minute left in the game. Fortunately, LA was able to drive, and they were able to score with literally no time left in the game to steal the win, 26 to 24. An impressive win for LA. A tough loss for Chicago. Because of the loss, I didn't move Chicago. They stayed at number 7, but I did move up RFCLA one spot to jump over Chicago. They were number 8, and to take the spot that Utah was. So Utah and LA basically traded places. I gotta say about the LA game, so like I mentioned before, LA, gotta give them credit. They did phenomenal against the maul and score of Chicago. LA, unfortunately, our maul defense is one of the worst in the league. And I was afraid that because of that, Chicago would totally capitalize because, again, their maul and score is one of the most deadliest. But LA did a great job on defense of that. LA also was really, really good. And I mentioned this before in my podcast that I usually do about RFCLA, Tales from the Clubhouse, Notes from the Clubhouse, that LA's really dangerous attack is their offensive go form of attack, meaning they usually do quick plays. The Gonzalo Bertrano, who has been phenomenal as a pickup for LA at the scrum half position, has been phenomenal in just kicking the ball when there's a penalty and just quick play. There is no line out. There is no setup to kick to touch. It's just play. Also, too, other players do the same thing where they don't develop a ruck. They just pick up the ball and just run with it. They don't pass it. They just go. And when you have LA, who is all about speed, driving the ball, especially in the second half, especially when a team is tired from that first half, LA has been able to really capitalize on that. And I think they did it the best in this game. Because usually what happens is in the second half, LA tends to tire out a bit. But in this game, it looked like they just shifted speeds, and it's been great. And I feel LA is one of those teams that have fortunately been kind of peaking at the right time, hopefully. Their next couple games are not necessarily easy. They have to go against Miami, who just had a big win. Don't want to spoil it. They have to go against Old Glory, who's always tough. And then they have to finish with Utah, who may be struggling right now. But, man, if LA can continue the momentum, they'll be phenomenal. But in this game, gotta make a shout out to Ed Timpson. He scored. It's his 6th try of the season. He's leading the team with 6 tries. Jason Dahm also got up another try, 2nd try in 2 games. It has been phenomenal for RFCLA. I also got to make a mention, I forgot to mention with Chicago, Peyton Wall, who was the 10th overall pick in last year's draft, got his 2nd start in his Major League Rugby career, got his 1st Major League Rugby try in this game against LA. Also, too, there was an opportunity for LA to score a little bit earlier than the last second from Mikey Sosenifiagai, who was able to peel off of the maul to go into, literally untouched, into the try zone. Peyton Wall, and Mikey's a big dude. Peyton's not such a big dude. Peyton Wall took the hit like a man, stopped Mikey from scoring, was able to hold the ball up. I don't know how he did it, but props to Peyton Wall, because not only does he score a try, he made an amazing and could have been the game saver if it wasn't for LA scoring at the very last second, thanks to Franco Vandenberg, who was a former Chicago Hounds player, got a try to win the game. Peyton, that defensive play could have been the game saver in that. So hats off to Peyton Wall. Phenomenal start to his Major League Rugby career. Moving on, Seattle, who I mentioned before, was able to beat San Diego, moves up a spot, or actually stays a spot, because man, that was a game that, even though Seattle won, could have went either way. I give San Diego credit for the loss. Seattle, it was a good win, but not an impressive enough win against a team that's pretty much at the bottom anyways to move themselves up. But hey, you got to give Seattle a lot of credit where credit's due. They are another team that has this habit of peaking near the end of the season, right at the playoff push, and they're there. So every game, especially between Seattle and RFCLA and San Diego, is going to be important, because those are the three teams fighting for that last one crucial playoff spot. And it is going to be a tight race, as I'm going to mention again in my preview video a little later on. So Seattle sits at number 5. And let's just put these two up right now. So Old Glory, as I mentioned before, dominant performance against Anthem. 6 tries in the game. Can't really say too much about it. Old Glory has been slowly picking things up, winning their last 3. They're on a 3-game winning streak, peaking at the right time. And then, as I mentioned before, Houston, with a dominant performance against Utah. A couple of tries by Wandy Oliver, who has been phenomenal for Houston. Seth Smith, the mini Viking. If you've never seen this kid, oh my God. And he is literally a kid. He is the youngest player to ever score a try in Major League Rugby history at only 19. I think he just had his 20th birthday. But this dude is wide. He is like 2 lengths my size. Nicest dude in the world. I met him a couple of months back in the year. Playing for Houston SaberCats, he got his first brace of his career, so congratulations to Seth Smith. But Houston dominant in the game against Utah, so I put them. Unfortunately, they stayed at number 2. Dominant performance, but not as dominant as the performance by the Miami Sharks, who defeated the New England Free Jacks and therefore moved up to the number 1 spot. Yes, highest that they've ever been in my power rankings for a team that just got established last season. Huge win over New England. If you follow our Super Brew pick'em, nobody picked Miami to beat New England. And this was a good New England team. It's not like the San Diego-Seattle game where you had all these injuries. This was a New England team that was on a 7-game winning streak that was just snapped by Miami unexpectedly. In the game, Miami got on the board first with a try after a miscue by a newly acquired Dan Hollinshead, who thought he fielded the ball in touch, or in the pitch, but he was actually in touch, so the ball turned over to Miami. That allowed Marcus Young to score, and then New England was able to get a score back by a heads-up play by Tavita Sol, but at the half, Miami scores because of a New England line-out. New England had some really bad line-out calls and a bunch of errors on that one. Miami capitalized. New England was able to score back to get the score to be 23-14, but then a score by Matthias Orlando for Miami pretty much put the game away. 30-19 was your final score. I got to give a shout out to Miami Sharks' Shane O'Leary, who's been a phenomenal pickup for Miami. 14 points, 4 out of 7 off the tee. He also had a try as well. Miami looking very dominant over a rather befuddled New England team. The New England team looked pretty lost for whatever reason. I don't know if it's a travel from Boston down to Miami, which I don't feel is that big of a trip. Same time zone too. But man, for whatever reason, Miami just looked dominant. And when you're defeating a team that's on a 7-game win streak, you're reigning defending two-time MLR champions, I feel that win deserves to be in that number 1 spot. So we have a new number 1, first time that Miami has ever been number 1 in our power rankings. And yeah, it's again, it's coming down to the wire. It's funny because at the beginning of the season we had the top 4 spots pretty much dominated by the Western Conference. Now it's kind of flipped, where now we have Eastern Conference dominant on the top. The West is kind of fighting back. Chicago, oddly, has now been sliding back. And then, of course, you have the 3 teams who one's already been eliminated, possibly 2 others that will be eliminated soon. Again, we'll talk about NOLA. They have a lot riding on them for week 15. But those are your power rankings. A very surprising power rankings for us. But now let's move on to our Super Bowl pick'em. And again, we have a person who would be very excited with the news here. Let's see the results. And congratulations to USA League and Union fan. Of course, Coop, my good friend. Now, there is a little caveat on here. Technically, he is tied with BT Woodrow. Exact same points, exact same bonus points. I don't know how he got the golden cap compared to BT Woodrow. I don't know if the system just can't give golden caps to both players. But regardless, congratulations to both BT Woodrow and USA League and Union Rugby fan, because you both were on top of the pool. Just USA League and Union Rugby fan got the golden cap instead. It's his 2nd cap of the season. 6 points out of 14.5. Right behind them with 5.5 points was Lady Juliet. And then tied for 4th with 5 points, we had Sunshine, who's been doing phenomenal these last couple of weeks. Tex, and then yours truly, Dogmai. Unfortunately, Mr. Rugby got the wooden spoon. Now, some interesting developments in our overall leaderboard. You see that we have a new number 1, Suri Sarai Sarai. Never know how to pronounce it. But again, technically exactly tied with the same amount of points as Julie EGW, 65.33. I don't know why Suri has gotten the number 1 spot over Julie EGW. I'm going to say it right now. If things end the way that they do end, where we have a tie at number 1, I'm willing to buy both number 1 players a t-shirt of the MLR team of their choice. And then technically they're going to have to split the $20 winnings that we have. But I am cool with buying both people. Whoever finishes at number 1, if it's a tie, regardless if it says 1 or 2, even if it's a 3-way tie, I'll buy all 3 people a t-shirt. I'm cool with that. You'll have to split the winnings of the $20 3 ways. We'll figure out how that works out. But I'm cool with that because I don't know how the system works if they're just not allowed to do ties. But from the point standing, 65.33, Julie GW and Sarai both have the same amount of points. So congratulations to them. But USA League and Union Rugby fan, my friend Coop, is right behind them at number 3 with 64.75. He is a little bit over a half a point behind both Julie GW and Sarai. With the way that Coop has been going, he could easily overcome both of them possibly by next week. And then right behind him is John from Rugby Morning with 62.08 points. And then coming back into the top 5, a former winner of our Super Bowl Pick'em, All J Long, with 60.58 points. Moving on to the bottom 5. I do got to give a shout out to Sunshine, who I mentioned before has been doing great these last couple of weeks. He started at like number 26 earlier in the season, has jumped up to 21. So again, as long as you pick your teams, you may not make it to the very top, but you definitely won't be at the very bottom. So congratulations to you, Sunshine, for getting into the 21st spot. But our bottom 5, Theo God stays at 24 with 49.08. Leon actually moved up a spot to 25 with 39 points. GMV Rugby also moved up the spot to 26 with 37. Unfortunately, my good friend Frisco Flame dropped 2 spots to 27. And then Melvin Rocker, who's given up on the season, sits at the last spot. So that is our power rankings for week number 14. Again, we have 3 weeks left in the season. Alright, my next video is a preview of week 15. It's going to be longer than usual because I'm going over playoff scenarios because almost every game has some sort of playoff indication. The Eastern Conference is going to get wild this coming week, and possibly the Western Conference as well. So again, stick with me. I appreciate your support watching the videos, and I'll see you on the pitch.